Oi, oi. Hello and welcome to Ranting and Racing, episode 4. But this time we are live. At least we think we're live. We've tested it. It was working. We'll find out, I guess, after a couple of hours of talking whether it's done it or not. I'm not recording this, Dazzles. So if this doesn't go out live, then there's no evidence of it happening. How are you doing? How was Dublin Racing Festival?
Yeah, it was great. I'm all worried about if it does go out live because you only got one shot of this. You got to watch what you say. And I know you, potty mouth.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, Dublin Race Festival, brilliant, mate. Brilliant. If you want to pay over the top for taxis, wait 6 hours for a piss and lose loads of money. But yeah, no, it was brilliant. No, I didn't lose loads of money. I had a good time, a good few bets, a good couple of bets. Probably didn't go as hard as I wanted to on Mighty Potter. I don't know why. I was a bit hungover on the Sunday. I think half of Dublin knew I had a good time on Saturday. But it was cracking. I'd advise anyone to get out there if you can, because it's literally brilliant. We stayed at Burlington Road. Next year we're going to stay at Leopardstown, the Clayton at Leopardstown, because it's just so much easier. We went there and had a good few drinks with Jamie, his dad, and his cousin, I think, or his nephew. But that was a good crack, mate. Yeah, it was really, really good fun. Really good fun.
Happy days. So we're going to do this live because of the fact that there is lots to talk about. The rants have been getting rantier. I've finally got the paid account of my dad to use. That's the kind of guy I am. 35 years old and still relying on the old man.
You've got the paid account. You've finally got the paid account. Look, you put your hand in your pocket for $11.99 a month. You've got your dad's.
The thing is, mate, like I said to you before, like it's handy when we're recording to have it at the 40 minutes to try and whittle it down. When we first started doing these, I went back to some old videos on YouTube. There's some stuff for like a Saturday preview that's like an hour and 40 minutes when I've spoken to people before. Not even a bloody winner in there. So what's the point? Anyway, this is basically like the bit of the intro. I haven't put the visuals at the bottom to be able to highlight which section we're in, but we're going to do the intro. We're both going to rant for a little bit. We're going to go through the mailbox rather than calling it the Q&A. We'll go through the mailbox, see what stuff's been sent in there. I think we've got sent a voice clip which you're going to play on your phone so we can hear it over the mic. We'll talk a bit about punting. We'll talk about Cheltenham going forward, and we'll just see how long this lasts. There will be some comments that come up on the stream, which I'll see if I can get into as well. We'll just see how things go. I don't know how many people will watch it. Any comments that go in the video after, we will address next week. So, rants. I potentially could have an absolute abundance of these, but the main one, it's not even really a rant, but something that I just wanted to address is the fact that on Sunday of Leopardstown, I think it was the winners enclosure, was sharing a link to Bet365 new account offer. Deposit a tenner, we'll bet a tenner. You get £50 worth of free bets for 5 races at Dublin Racing Festival. When you read the T's and C's, you just get £50 worth of free bets, 5 £10 free bets to use in the next 90 days. Doesn't even have to be in those races. So quickly went upstairs to the bedroom, said to the new missus, so we set up a new account. Oh, I think I've already got one of them. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah, so she's already got Bet365 account. She just thought she hadn't been in it for ages. She thought we could just, I don't know, set another one up or do something with it. So she's got a Bet365 account, which is obviously pointless other than the sign-up offers, but she hasn't been in it for so long, it's been deactivated. I then said, I bet you've got some other ones, didn't you? And she said, I'm not sure. So she's got a Paddy Power account, again, been deactivated, so she can't sign up with Betfair or Sky Bet until that's unactivated. And then they want to see all the normal tests and stuff to get that sorted. And she's got a Ladbrokes account, which means she can't get on Coral and probably some other ones. So the long and the short of it is, I've got no free bet bonus stuff to do for Cheltenham, but it's not the end of the world, right? I'm sure I could have made a few quid out of it. I was interested in doing it from the content whore perspective that I am, to get a good video out there to show people how they could have played their money. But I'll be honest with you, I'm fairly pleased because it means on the week and in the build up to it, I can focus a bit more on actual punting rather than having to manage a couple of accounts, because I've got the boy booked in for after school club Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I will be going fairly hard on the trading, I think, so I'm quite excited about that. But mini rant, I suppose, but it's just semi-annoying, isn't it? You get to this age, when are you going to find a woman that hasn't got a Bet365 account?
That's it, like gold dust, didn't they? Does she realise that she's probably just shortened your relationship span by about 3 to 5 years by telling you that information?
No, it's all good, to be honest. And the thing, I kept looking at the sign-up offers as well. They're atrocious now. That £10 to get 50 quid's fair, I think. Well, I say fair, it's pretty good, to be fair. But I did the Paddy Power account I set up for a previous girlfriend was bet a tenner on Forheen in the I can't remember what race it was. Feel bad. But anyway, he's running a race, the race where Nichols Canyon ended up beating him. And it was like you got even money on him when he was like a 1 to 4 point, but you also got a £10 free bet every week to the festival. There was 16 weeks till the festival. So you put a tenner in the account and got £160 worth of free bets. So
Bloody hell, mate.
they were the days, but you don't get it anymore. And even the boosts now, aren't they? On the build up to Cheltenham, they do the countdown to Cheltenham specials, didn't they? Where you can get some special prices. They're nowhere near as good as they used to be. I lost 2 Boyle Sports account and I only put 1 bet on each of them. They did 24-1 for Valtor and for Heen as like a boosted double. And I just had a bet on both of those. It won, but at the end of the day, a winner's a winner in it. And then they just restricted the accounts to 15p, both of them. But never mind. So I'm not that fussed about it. I'll stop now. I'll let you go for a minute if you got one.
Talking about Boyle Sports, right? That's like, I don't want to slag any bookmakers off just in case we've got perhaps any potential work coming down in the future. but I tell you what, mate, 6 days. An account lasts 6 days with them. It was about, I'm just trying to find if I can see what the account history was. Here, got £7 in the account. Thriving. I think it was about £300 up, about £1,200 in stake, so it's 6 days. Yeah, £300 up. Text message when I was with you at Cheltenham. Mm-hmm. Boom, no more. We don't want your custom anymore. Thank you very much. Like why? Like, these are morning bets, 9 a.m. bets. There's nothing you can do, is there? There's nothing you can do sometimes. I was going to have a good rant this week, and then I realised that I think I'm the issue. So I'm actually going to rant about me, right? So I've got a real, I think, control complex going on when it comes to racing, right? Because, as you know, I'm obsessed, right? 18 hours a day. I'm looking, watching, finding, searching, doing everything I can possibly do, right? And then I go on Twitter, right? And I've said it before. I said it in a previous part. I've got to stop. Pull myself away from Twitter. But when I get 5 minutes, and I give myself a little break, look, have a little scroll through, Dave, just see how people are getting on, see what's going on, write back and stuff. And then I see tweets like, Queen's Gamble was beaten earlier, wasn't she, right? I see a tweet, right, that said, Queen's Gamble just narrowly beaten, was giving away tons of weight. I think she wins the champion bumper. And I thought, fucking hell. Oh, here we go. I'll rub my hands together, got my fingers all stretched and thought, right, I'm going to have to write on this. Because she was only giving away £4. But it's not tons of weight, right? What you don't need to reply, you don't need to tell everyone that their opinion might or might not be wrong. Mm-hmm. Sorry, am I boring you here?
Oh, no, don't worry. It was Twitter. You just said it there. It's done a notification as a reply to a comment on something. Anyway, carry on.
All right, yeah. So I had to pull myself away from it. And I tell you what, it's just like a snowball effect of me because it started actually when everyone was tweeting about, Versailles Vega was such and such faster than State Man. God, he's gone off miles too hard. When they've absolutely got no context to what actually State Man achieved. State Man could have been walking. They still would have said the exact same thing, And those sort of things just really, really annoy me because they put out so much misinformation and it comes from people as well that are in the industry. Look, that should know better. Do you know what I mean? They give out this information with absolutely no context about what a comparable race has done. And it winds me up rotten because I sat there yesterday from 4:30 when I got back from Dublin in the afternoon, right up until 10 o'clock last night and then right up until 11:30 this morning. That's how long it took me to do the Cheltenham Focus Column, to try and put out the right information out there, right? And then you get people who get all these comments and these, worshippers who believe these fucking little tweets that they wrote with minimal characters and no information, and they take it as gospel. I have no idea why it winds me up so much, but I know I'm the problem, right? I know anyone can tweet what they want, Dave, can't they? I'm the problem. I understand that. But it does wind me out, and I've just got to learn to try and unstretch the fingers, bring them back, bring it back in, and not tweet and not say nothing. But I'm learning, Dave.
I think the key thing with that as well is, in the day and age that we are, especially with technology being at your fingertips, results, everything just being immediate, it is fastest finger first with a lot of stuff. So people want to be the person that was on there first saying they went too fast, they went too quick.
Yeah, but don't be first, be right.
No, exactly. But the problem with it as well is if we go in there in the aftermath of, say, again, the Queen's Gamble thing, say there's something in the instance of that happening, and then there's a tweet, and then there's comments, all that sort of stuff. Because that Ginger Joe Racing put up there about saying stop backing mares for
Yeah, I like that.
for the bumper, and like I can see it, yeah, like it's a thing in it. But they're all like different balance, aren't they? Like it's an Oliver Sherwood mare, so not to be rude to Oliver Sherwood, but like there's a.
I'll tell you why. This is because you put that mare up for Mullins's, didn't you?
No, it's not. No, it's not even because of that. It's because like Relegate and Fiona went, didn't they? Like I know there's all like easy things to say in there, but I don't want to say like as a flippant comment, but like the quick comment was, let's never back a mare for Cheltenham. Like they're never going to win at Cheltenham, all that sort of stuff. And then obviously you have had Relegate, you had Fiona, and I think the reason it was a sore subject thing, and because it's like in the immediate aftermath, Fiona died, didn't she? Right? She won that novice hurdle. She looked like she could have been a superstar. We'll never know. Some of them do flop, but it was just like Ginger Joe had commented and said they were falsely run races. They were both thrashed after, and I just thought like it's such a like.
Well, he's not wrong.
No, but you're saying he's not wrong. One of them died. That was all it was. I just commented after that and said Fiona won, didn't she? She won at Punchestown in the proper bumper.
Listen, right, you've gone to death, right, just because you're being defensive about your Mullins mare that you put up.
No, it's not. It's not because of that. It's just because of that. It's like like we have like not an affiliation with certain horses or whatever, but like it's just one of them. In the immediate aftermath, if I'd have seen that like a couple of hours later, I probably wouldn't have wanted to comment anything about Relegate or Fiona, and I saw a couple of people had already messaged in there. The Fiona one, I think it just like touched a bit of a nerve in me because like she was good, and then it was just that little thing of like, don't speak ill of the dead. But like it's there, it's in those in like the immediate aftermath. Like normally with those things, I just wouldn't comment on there. There's just no point, is there?
How have we got to stop backing mares in bumpers too? I can't believe he's speaking ill of the dead.
Because he said that they both got thrashed after. She was unbeaten after, but never mind. It doesn't matter. But again, it's that we like you're saying there when you say like you're the problem.
Yeah.
We are the problem. If you go onto Twitter in the, like minutes after a race has happened, everyone's got their own like little take on things, and it's like it's a bit of a discussion point. It's one of those like if you're at the race course and you're sat next to each other, someone might say something, mightn't they? Like I don't know, whatever it is. Like say you're at the race course and someone said that's why you never back mares in the bumper. Then someone else goes, "Well, Relegate and Fiona won." And then if like you know what I mean, like it's a little bit of a back and forth in the immediate aftermath, isn't it? Once it gets to like 20 minutes, half an hour later, there's no point even commenting on that stuff because it's like I don't know, retired or redundant. So yeah, I feel better for it because the weekend I was fairly busy, didn't catch up, didn't see anything over Twitter over the weekend, and it does you such a massive favour just to not go on there in the immediate aftermath because they end up it's not even necessarily winding you up. I mean it does a bit, but you end up like biting or writing into something, and you just don't say anything. It's like the guitar lessons thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I've backed horses deliberately against someone that's written something on Twitter. Like they don't know I've backed the horse. I've not tipped it, but I've backed a horse against what they think deliberately just to give me some self-worth. I don't know why. It's mad.
But it does. They're the worst conversations though because they're not a face-to-face thing, and when it's on there, everything gets not misinterpreted and all those sort of things, and it's just. Yeah, it's the aftermath of it. Right, we've had a few comments on the live feed, so I'm going to peel some of them out as well. But we need to go onto the mailbox as well. Is your phone charged a little bit to play the voice note while it's got some?
Yeah, you go and have a look at some of the comments first. We'll get through some of them, and I'll.
Oh God, there's thousands of them. Cheers, guys! Such nice support. I say thousands.
Joking.
Right, these. I mean, there's not so much ranting at the moment. What I'll do is we're going to go and do the mailbox. There are a few comments in there which we can read. Most of it's people just saying they really like my hair. But we'll come back to it. If you want to do any more ranty stuff, you get in there. People just talk about how good Dublin Racing Festival was. I was getting some kudos for tipping that Barn Asulia and Ballyadam, even though both got beat, but big price places, weren't they? Paul Williams has said Queen's Gamble is with the wrong trainer. I like Oliver, but he's in form once a year at best, and then said Darryl will kill me for that comment. Trainer form. You love it, didn't you?
Yeah, like that. Oh, that's starting to crop up at the minute. Have you seen it with like Fergal O'Brien and Ollie Murphy? That's a whole nother rant. That's a whole nother show, isn't it? Do you know what? I will bring that up in a week or two's time because I know it's going to be cherry ripe going round on the Twitter sphere before Cheltenham about trainers in form, trainers out of form.
Agreed. Tell you what we're going to do. Have you got the voice note ready?
Yeah, I've got it ready.
But don't play it. What I'm going to do is just like a little bonus Brucey thing in here is people will be watching this. It might drag on for a little while. So I've put up a couple of bets for Cheltenham in my GG column. Daryl's already touched on the fact that I put up a mare for the bumper. She's an okay one. Like I just wanted to get her in the column. You know what it's like when you're writing stuff. you have to wait a week or whenever. There's timings to put stuff in there. I want to get something in the bumper, so she's been putting that fun. Whether she runs or not, I don't know. But one I do want to mention for people that are watching, because people won't ever get to the end, is Manella Crooner. I've talked about this horse left, right, and centre. Admittedly, I know it could end up being like a Kim Muri thing and all that sort of stuff, but National Hunt Chase is dog shit. It's pretty pants raised most years, especially since they changed it to 3 mile 6. I don't think anyone really is that interested in it anyway, but I talked about this horse at the beginning of the season, like he could be like a National Hunt Chase type. They've run him over 2.5 couple of times. Thought he ran okay when he beat Iron Maximus, but Gangly Leg Maximus would have beaten him if he hadn't made mistakes. Manella Crooner is running in a 2 mile 7.5 novice chase tomorrow. It's not, I don't know if it's a novice one, it's a rated chase. So basically it's on good terms. 4 to 6 poke. Only got to finish in the top 4, will qualify for the National Hunt Chase. So I'm not saying it's definitely going to go there, but it's definitely going to go there. 16 to 1 with Bet365, non-run and no bet, and they are best odds guaranteed as well. So the best odds guaranteed doesn't matter, because if it wins, it's going to shorten. But Manella Crooner, as far as I'm concerned, is going to go there. The most interesting part of it is, for me, in terms of qualification, he's got to finish in the top 4 in this race. They've also put it in for the 10 up on Sunday. It was declared for this race, and then the entries for Sunday would have come out after they'd have declared for this. So I feel like their belt and braces, if God forbid anything happens, like he falls on seats or whatever, they can quickly get him out on Sunday to qualify, because they're running out of like qualifying races for these types of horses. I fancy him. I think he's going to win. The thing is as well, like Gallard de Mesnil just looks a bit ropey, doesn't he? There's questions around Chemical Energy now that Gordon ran him, which seemed a bit strange.
There was questions around him anyway. Like, they won a free runner chase at bloody Cheltenham in October.
Exactly. So I just wanted to say that now, because I would mention it in the Cheltenham stuff later, but there's one for you boys to go on there. Go smash it up on the exchange as well, because I took some big prices. I've put some lays in there for 16 or 17.0. So if you want to go and take the money I've put on there, then it's another free arb for me. Support the channel. Cheers, guys. Right, you play that voice note, and I'll shut up for a bit.
Right, let's see if you can. Hold on, Dave. I didn't download it. Right, here we go.
All right, lads. Right, my question's going to be, so do you believe that the new whip rules are going to have a massive effect going into this festival? Or do you think, I know they've got the bedding in period to do, but do you think within that bedding in period that the jockeys are going to be fully adjusted? I've got a sneaky suspicion that I think the jockeys are going to be very wary going into that festival. And you're not going to see some of the, gung-ho kitchen sink type rides that you usually get from a lot of them. So, yeah, that'll be my question.
Fair enough. What do you reckon?
It's funny getting this voice note as well, because literally the thing last week, the rant was, aren't you bloody sick of the bloody whip coming up all the time? And then the next voice note was this. My personal take on it is, I don't pay enough attention to what they're doing for like legislation, all that sort of stuff. So I know I should, it's like very ignorant of me, but if I imagine from what I understand that obviously the rules have changed, people are going to get banned for just riding the horses they normally are. If it comes into play for the Cheltenham Festival in time, I don't know when it's due to come in, but say it comes in for there, I would imagine that the jockeys aren't going to give a shit this year. They're just going to ride the horses normal, take the bans, like a slap on the wrist sort of stuff. I don't know how it's governed either, really, when you think that most of the horses that are going to be flogged and run and win at Cheltenham will be Irish jockeys that probably won't ride at Aintree, won't be over here to serve their ban. So what does it mean? They'll be held onto their ban until they run at the Cheltenham Festival the year after, or there'll be an appeal or something. So it just seems really wavy, doesn't it? And I would imagine that most jockeys out there would rather ride a Cheltenham Festival winner than survive like getting a ban when another jockey goes past them and does it. It's like it's a tricky one, but
I agree with you, right? But that is why the rules are being put in place, I think, because people would rather ride a Cheltenham Festival winner than give a shit about a ban. So therefore, that's probably why the whip rules, or at least the punishment, is the right move to come in, because that way you are trying to avoid that exact situation where you'd rather ride a winner than get a ban. So they're trying to make it severe enough so that doesn't happen. But in terms of how the stick is used and all that, that's absolute bollocks. That's just absolute nonsense. I agree. I don't think they'll care. I think they'll come over here, ride the races. There'll be bans given out left, right, and centre. I suspect the BHA are going to do a terrible job at like policing it. I expect it to be on the front page of the Racing Post, because they like to give the sport a kick now and again when it's struggling. I expect it to be thrown to the wolves if you like, saying that this horse was hit too many. You know, when Peter and everybody else comes out of the woodwork at this time of year, I think it's going to be a disaster for the sport, generally for the way it looks and the appearance of the sport. I think it'll be a disaster. But in terms of will the rides and will the horses be affected by the jockeys' change of approach? I don't think so. I don't think it will happen. And it wouldn't surprise me if something comes out and they push this back until after the festival. I don't know why. I've got no real reason to think that could happen or would happen, but it wouldn't surprise me because there is a lot of uproar about this. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is an interesting one because it's dangerous with Cheltenham, because if they do it at Cheltenham, it's 10 times worse if jockey gets 50-day ban at Cheltenham Festival. That's on the front page of the Sun. If it happens at Warwick in a summer meeting, it won't. Like you said, it will make the racing post. So yeah, it's a tricky one. The tricky thing. The hard thing with it all is, especially with the whip, is I guess like the case sometimes gets made that it's like a corrective measure and it's for safety and all that sort of stuff. But then sometimes you see it in a finish, don't you? And then technically, if a jockey's riding a horse to a finish and they're not necessarily wandering about, and then they give it a tap, that would be more as encouragement, wouldn't it, to get more out of the horse when seemingly they're just saying that it's for a corrective bit. Like it's wet. I don't have any knowledge on the subject. I'm just the outsider looking. So it's up to, as far as I'm concerned, it's up to them to all sort out it. But the trainers, jockeys, they've got definitely the jockeys have got an association that looks after, haven't they? Like they'll have their union or whatever. And I'd imagine that all those people that do know about it would be doing what needs to be done to sort it out. It's one of those things again. Like I know it's sad and it's, I don't know, I'm not going to go and like protest in the streets over it. It's like the affordability checks. As much as it will potentially impact us, I can't do anything about it, so I just let someone else sort it out.
Yeah, and that's probably the right thing for us to touch on, at least anyway. Leave the brains that be to discuss the actual ins and outs of the whole thing. But I would say, would it affect our bets? I would say no. Would it be a consideration of what we're thinking about backing? Would it change what we're thinking about backing at the festival and who's riding? No, not really. What will be, will be. Essentially, you want to be backing the best horse in the race, don't you? So regardless of the whip rules, I would say don't let it affect your betting. Don't think about it too much because you can't control that. And that's that wrapped up, I think, Dave, isn't it?
That is that wrapped up. Beautiful. Right, we're going to go back into the mailbox. However, there's been a very important message in the chat from the Jump Show. The rant is the pen behind Daryl's ear.
You know why I have this, right? It makes me feel more comfortable. And I had it... I'll tell you what it was. I was on the Betfair podcast, and well, obviously we've got guests that come on, and that big guests and stuff. And I just had it in the back of my ear because it was making me feel comfortable. And then I just sort of said, someone asked me about it, and I just sort of said, "Oh, it's just so I can take notes from our guests and get some inside information and write it down." So ever since then, it's just been a thing that I just have it here naturally before I start something. I'll just start going like that. So, sorry, mate.
Thanks for clearing that one up. There's another comment in there about the price of Guinness, how it's €5 at the Dublin Racing Festival and £8 at Cheltenham. But again, it's not my place to speak because it's the powers that be that do somewhere else. Everywhere's a bloody rip-off though, isn't it? For like literally everything. This isn't racing. We're going to go onto the mailbox straight after this. Eggs. You know, there's a shortage of eggs. I bought 6 eggs in the supermarket today because the boy likes dippy eggs. It was £3, 50 pence an egg. He has 3 eggs and 3 slices of toast. It's basically the same price as a Happy Meal, so he doesn't get a toy.
You want to stick your head on the shelf and start sticking your hand out. You're doing a fortune.
Right, bollocks to you. Right, into the mailbox. We got a couple of bits. I'm going to do them in the wrong order because I've just clicked on one. Kenny Roper. One for Daryl. Cheers, Kenny. Does he think that Facile Vegas stopped, or did Paul know they went too quick, didn't give him a hard time once he got headed, sort of like he did with Lossy Mouth the day before? Must have got shit from Willie's what he said. So I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, can understand why you'd think that. I think there's something wrong with him. I've been through this race 100 times today. I think there's something wrong with him. Yes, he went too hard early on, but it wasn't, and I stress this enough, it wasn't like extremely beyond manageable, if that makes sense. I thought High Definition had him in a little bit of trouble, in all honesty. And I don't really like that horse. And I thought he had him in a little bit of trouble. When High Definition came down, I thought Paul was going to then take a pull and sort of get a big breather into him. He didn't really do that. He just let him keep galloping. When he got round to the top, they closed up on him so easily that I think that Paul knew that he had nothing underneath him. I think he genuinely knew that he was very light underneath, and there was nothing he could have done. I could see his point about the criticism he got from Willie Mullins about not riding out of finish, and you don't really want to try and leave a mark on these horses, particularly Facile Vega, who he holds in the highest regard. But I don't think that was the case. He stopped far too quickly for me. And like I say, that the early fractions that he set, they weren't astronomical. Like, he couldn't have come back from them. I mean, you only have to look at the mare's handicap on the card. They went much quicker as well in the early part of the race than State Man did. And the middle part of the race as well, like he did go fairly quickly, but he shouldn't have been stopping at that point. If he'd have stopped coming to the last or just before the last and he was picked up, I would have said, yeah, look, he's done far too much too soon, not been able to see it out. But he was beaten too early to think that there is anything, that there's not an issue with him. I genuinely think there's an issue there. There's been rumours about whether he bled. So that's just rumours. We don't know if that's to be true. Look, we're waiting to hear what's gone on. And the other thing is that might just be his true running. We don't know that's not his true running. Now, I know he beat Elite Thompson previously at Christmas, but he did control that race through the mid part. And he did, have a very soft lead. He wasn't hassled. And he kicked away quite nicely, maintained a gallop there. And I know you said, Dave, that, he's been beat, 20 lengths by Elite Thompson. If you've seen a handicap, he wouldn't have, £20 reverse, blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't make sense, and I totally understand that. So the only real conclusion I can come up with is that there was something amiss with Facile Vega, because Elite Thompson, he ran a remarkable race, really. He ran an excellent circuit time, ran an excellent closing sectionals from 2 out. It was a really, really good performance, and it's very difficult to take the performance away from him. So, yeah, I'm struggling a little bit with it, I must admit. But no, I think there might be an issue with Facile Vega if I had to put my money on one.
Yeah, fair enough. A couple of guys in the comments as well are talking about the fact that how is Elite Thompson not clear favourite for the Supreme? The performance is probably overlooked because of what Facile Vega did, and then people are saying that he should be given more credit. Should be a lot shorter. My 2 cents on it for the sake of it is, obviously we had that Christmas run, and I think a lot of people looked at Elite Thompson maybe, I don't know, I want to say quietly ridden, like maybe wasn't trying to get as close to Facile Vega as who knows. The real tricky thing is, like, it's one run in isolation, and we're not going to get any more information until the Supreme now. So it's going into that Supreme. Do you trust Facile Vega? You could just excuse that run, put a line for it, and then go back to the previous form, or has it left a mark? Is there something wrong with him? All those bits, you just won't know. For me, when we talked about this earlier as well, like, it depends what happens pricey wise, but I'd happily pay to find out at 7-2, 4-1, and I'd imagine he. I don't know. I'd imagine he might come with some support. I still don't like Marine Nationale really, but then that's got nothing to do with the performance that was put in there. It's just like that Arkle, isn't it? Do you remember when Petit Mouchoir and St Calvados both went off, cut each other's throats? David Russell was coming back in, calling the other jockey a C word and all that sort of stuff, just saying, "What did you do that? You ruined the race." And it's one of those where that's not their true running. Ruby Walsh did the thing on footpad and sat out the back. Now, Facile Vega has been held up in bumpers before. Again, when we were talking earlier, I was saying to you, I think he is, like, he's just one of those, like, lovely horses that will just do as he's told. And I think, unfortunately, Paul maybe got lost in the communications with him there, where he gave him the chance to go.
The interesting thing with that, David, is that I heard that they were worried about high definitions jumping, so they didn't want to be behind him. And obviously, if he comes down and something happens to Facile Vega, so that's one thing that they were talking about. But I mean, look, let's tell it out. Like, Paul Townend's a great jockey, but that was a brain dead ride, wasn't it?
Yeah, but again, it's all these things, right? So because it happened and because it's finished, it's just, we just won't know. We'll be able to look back on this in 3 or 4 runs, or even 2 more runs, maybe Cheltenham and Punchtown, and we'll know what happened that day. But at the moment, it is very, like, speculative. But it's things like that. When High Definition made the mistake, had he have knocked into Facile Vega and shipped off Paul Townend, Facile Vega would still be 5-4 for a Supreme, even though he went too quick at the beginning. We just wouldn't have had the answer at the end. So
Yeah, that's very true. But just to touch on their point quickly, yeah, I agree that Tate Thompson, that he's put up the best novice hurdle performance, bar none. You know what I mean? Like Facile Vega was quite good at Christmas, but this was much better.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are reasons for him to improve. I know you can't have it because he was beaten in the Triumph last year, but
no, it's more that I liked the comments because David Casey said he'd be their Supreme horse for next year, and he was one of the horses that I looked at backing for the Supreme anti-post for very, very, very small stakes just for the sake of it. But he was sold when he to that Hollywood syndicate thing, which is like the bet thing, and that puts me off. Like I don't understand if you've got a worldie way you do it. You know, like, it's weird though, innit? It's like Mum's tipping, innit? They never sold that one, and then she's dog shit after. So in my mind, I'd rather they didn't sell her, and then that means that she's that good. But I don't know. You just don't know, do you? Willie Mullins has got like a baby and a proper romance with Facile Vega, innit? So I can't trust him at the moment whether he's being truthful with it, and he's making excuses for a lot of horses at the minute. So we'll find out at Cheltenham, won't we? If Energumene bolts up, Lossiemouth bolts up, Facile Vega bolts up, we should never have done anything other than just trust what Willie said. And at the moment, Willie's saying that wasn't Facile Vega's true running. Ride him like a racehorse, not a machine. Next time out, he still thinks he's the one to beat. So it's probably as good enough for me to just trust him. But it is hard to trust him when you're seeing things like that happen, isn't it? Let's move on to another question.
Fucking hell, just had a third second on the day. 3 seconds today.
We've done the rants, mate. We've just give it up.
I know, I'm just saying. I just had 3 seconds today. I was beating a head at Taunton, a nose at Wolverhampton earlier, and then I've just been beaten in the last. I've not seen the result because I was chatting to you, but
never mind. Right, I'm gonna do this question, but we're getting a few track questions about another horse, which I'm going to ask now because a few people are going on about this. This will be a quick, short one. Marie's Rock. Where would you run her, the mares or the stayers?
Well, she's unproven at 3 miles for a start, isn't she? She didn't run over 3 miles, has she? But I don't know. I would think that they were only going to go. They will only go to the stayers because now Honeysuckle's in the race. Whereas I think she might beat Honeysuckle over 2.5 anyway. I understand that the mares is probably a tougher race in terms of the depth in the contest. But you know, I think she's got every right to defend her crown. If she was mine. Jeez, I don't know what I would do. If she was mine, I'd probably think that there's improvement to come over 3 miles, but that's just the way I think. And I'm trying to separate the way I think to the way that they will think at the moment because it's anti-post season. I think that they will stick rather than twist, but I would, if it was me, I would say, let's see if she's got improvement to come over 3 miles.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's exactly why the question comes up, doesn't it? Because, again, it's not saying there's a definitive answer, but it's one of those where you could ask the same people over and over again, or you could ask 10 people and you get everyone sort of split, wouldn't you, which way you should go. It's only because the stairs is potentially marked as a bad one, isn't it? I remember when, was Annie, wasn't it? She went for the stairs hurdle and she was 5-2 fav. And it's a different beast to go and run in a stairs hurdle and actually really, really, really stay that 3 mile trip. She's got to go for the mare's hurdle as far as I'm concerned. But Jonathan Jones asked a question. Hi, guys. Loving the content. Cheers, mate. Few little questions. Dave, when you're trading rather than punting, do you use software such as BetAngel, etc., and what are your thoughts on them? And then similar question to the both of you. When you look to have a punt, what data sites do you read up on to have a well-rounded understanding of the race? So I use HBD, which is horse betting data. At the minute, it's like some data. That just gives me price things for different stuff. So I'm doing some analysis and stuff on there to see if I can find some patterns. And at that point, I will use some software. So I'll probably use Geek Toy. I have looked at BetAngel, but at the moment, I don't use any of those. The main reason why I would use those is for in-running punting because they give you a little bit more speed and these nice ladders that move around. So it makes it a bit easier to bet in running. I don't typically bet quick in running. For my trading stuff, I'll tend to just look at a horse or price and think to myself, I can back this because I'm fairly sure that I can get out if I need to get out. But most ones I'm buying into, I don't want to get out. Most of them, I'm just thinking to myself, I think this will shorten. I've had some howlers in the past that I have managed to get out of. Eldorado Adam, when he ran at Sandown, I kept backing him when he was like 4 or 5 to 1 on the exchange, and I think he went off 7 to 2, but he went off at like 12s on the machine. One horse went off like the clappers out in front, so I never had the chance to lay back in running, but I always thought he would always trade a bit shorter. He did in the end. I fortunately managed to get out of that, but I ended up going from like 50 quid on him, and because he went out to such a big price and I couldn't have it, I ended up having 450 quid on him, and I actually thought I'd done my bollocks. But typically now, like Mighty Potter was one on Sunday where I had a quick look at the betting in the morning. I don't like doing it in the morning because you want to be able to see how the markets are moving like a bit closer to the time, but he was 2.38 on the exchange, and I was like, that's obviously way too big. That's the sort of one where I've thought he should be, I don't know, like a 5 to 4 poke, if not short, on the exchanges. They would be the types of ones where I would say to myself, right, I'm going to stick 100 on that at 2.4 because I might be able to lay it at 2.2 before it's even run. Honeysuckle was another one. She went to 3.55, I think. So I would have, I didn't do it in the morning, but I was looking to bet her, then I would have been able to lay it probably half a point shorter. So at the minute, I don't use software for them. I will going forward. At the minute, I just use my own ability to price a market and say this is the wrong price. I want to get stuck in. Do you use anything for like your data and stuff? Because I think you put some stuff in your daily columns, didn't you?
Yeah, I do. I do use various websites, gg.co.uk for like the statistical front and things like that. Like, you know, I'm interested in horses like first time in a hood or handicap debutants at certain tracks and stuff like that. So I use ggs.co.uk for that. But other than that, I don't tend to use anything else. And I don't, when I put a lot of the stuff in the daily column for Betfair and stuff, the statisticals, like angles, they're more of interest rather than, you know, punts. You know what I mean? They're more of interest if people like the angle, then they can back it. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm backing all those angles, but I find they're quite interesting. But yeah, I don't use anything else. I just use the Racing Post.
Yeah,
Racing Post. Yeah.
But that's what's good though, because there's lots of stuff that already does it out there. Like Galt Stats does fantastic stats for Cheltenham. Like you can get everything you need from other places. I do. I mean, I don't know. I'm getting trouble.
I tend to use his site like for the Cheltenham Festival, especially when I'm sort of stuck on a race. Do you know what I mean? If I'm like sort of stuck on a race, I'll go to Galt Stats and have a good look and see what, because he's so in depth. It's, you know, you can sort of you can make a case against the horse by using any sort of stat,
can't
you? But it can also, you know, bolster your confidence a little bit if you do like one. If there is a good positive stat there for you, I wouldn't use them in terms unless I'm struggling. So like. The Ultimate Handicap, for example, I struggle with that race every single year.
Correct, Ramble.
Yeah, but he's not going, is he? He's going to Aintree. Because if he was, he would be an absolute certainty £2 high after that run at Newbury in the Coral Gold Cup. But he's not going. They're planning to go to Aintree, aren't they? And somewhere else in between. Did they say Ayr or something like that? No.
Somewhere.
Yeah, but yeah, for example, a race like that, if I'm stuck, I'll go and have a look at that and just try and spark something in the mind, you know what I mean?
Yep, and that's the thing with it. Like, I say this all the time, like, literally, I'm a data analyst by trade. You literally can prove anything with facts. And I know it sounds like such a simple statement, but if someone says to me, I want you to make this look good and I want you to make this look bad, I could use the same thing. You just portray it in whichever light you want. When I did the Dublin Racing Festival stats, I scrape websites to get stuff. So I'm not really supposed to do it, but I use it with like a fair amount of use, to be fair. So like I might go onto Racing Post and get a lot of results in there, but I'll stick it into Excel and then I'll play about of it in there. I love looking at the numbery side of things, but like you say, it's more of an interest to like bolster a case or something, or to try and not necessarily knock someone else, but to look against stuff. There's loads of good stuff out there. It's hard to have the balance of, I want to say this like without sounding like a fathead, but I'm like hard to have the balance of I know what I'm talking about. You don't
want your opinion swayed by a stat that can easily...
Yeah, and the hard thing as well with it is, like, there'll be stuff that I'll prove with the data, but because I've got experience in the field, i.e., like, I'm pretty good at pricing the market. I've done some of the pricing stuff when I worked at Corals years back. I'm pretty good with, like, I say the trading stuff, like reading where stuff's moving about. I'm not always spot on with it. But if I was to look at data and data said to me, well, this is like this one, I would say to myself, sometimes it might be, oh, okay, that's interesting. Other times I'd look at it and say, well, that was just because this, and this happened, or this comment that came out, that comment came out, that comment came out. So because I'm aware of the external factors that change things, I'm a bit sort of conflicted with it. So I'm trying to move a bit more to tradey stuff to try and take myself away from it. But it's hard because I like the horses. Anywho, that's another question done. That's almost put us onto punting. Let's go into Scott. Scott Burgess, long-time fan. Daryl, I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say this out loud on a live YouTube. I don't want to get him in trouble, but I mean it's his career, not mine. He works somewhere. I mean, if I say that his employer might be watching, he works somewhere and he's told us if we want to get on, we can have what we want on.
Has he? Tell him
So,
to,
and
is
you're
that in
you,
the-
you're
is
in.
that in the email?
Yeah, well, yeah, yes. There's contact details in the thing. I've met him a couple of times. Met him a couple of times. Met him at Cheltenham, and I've seen him at Toaster. Didn't speak to him at Toaster, but he's into his dogs as well, and he's always said I can get a few quid on. He lives sort of near me, so cheers, Scott. Anyway, my rant has to be Goshen. Why does he even give this horse another chance chasing his dog? Like it's right, like the chasing thing was mental. On that I can't believe there was people out there that thought he had a chance of winning again. They're idiots, aren't they?
Oh mate, I missed this. I mean, I've already told the story, but I missed laying him at Lingfield last week by like 4 minutes. I was like literally my whole day revolved around it, but I ended up missing laying him. Then by the time I clicked on the race after doing things, he was trailing in third. Like he was going on good ground, back over fences in first time cheek pieces. Like it was madness. Like how he was odds on, it was madness. I don't know why like more people weren't laying into him, but I don't know. Like I don't know why they keep giving him another chance over fences. Do you? Do you really? Come on,
They scored. Gary Moore said, didn't he? Scored him at home and said he was jumping really nice. But that's the problem with it, isn't it? It's almost like saying I don't know, just like ignorance is bliss. Like, don't stick him over fences at home. Don't let him give you the opportunity to say that he's working well when you see he doesn't want to do it. Also, I read a little bit further on in the email, and then Scott did mention, don't forget if you need to get on, you can visit my shop, but only you, Dave. So sorry about that, Dazzler. He did say, will we like £25 worth of free bets to do a competition? Obviously, stakes not refunded, but winnings paid. So, I mean, yeah, for £25 worth of free bets, let's do something like that. We'll see if I've got his number in here anyway. We'll send him a text, see if we can get 25 quid up for next week's show or something.
all right, sweet.
Happy days. One other bit he said in there, also from Trials Days, what did you think of Panic Attack? I know didn't win, looked well beat, but could run a handicap chase at the festival or as a plot for Aintree. I don't like her, I never have. There's a Mares Festival at Cheltenham at Aintree, isn't there? So I wouldn't be interested in her ever.
Me either, mate.
He was going to give us £25 worth of free bets, and then we've just not even answered his question. Let's go in the chat for a sec, because that'll do us for the email stuff. The rest of them can wait till another time. Bad, not a lot's gone in there. Samuel Martin said, do we think Conflated's got a chance in the Gold Cup? Gigginstown must be keen as Fury Roads was upsides over the last 16s on the exchange. I reckon Conflated has got a bit of a squeak. You know, the funny thing with him is, I feel like, like sometimes there's a time and a place to run a horse, and then other times people will say, oh, look at the record of horses that have lost in a Gold Cup going back the year after winning a Gold Cup. Meh, that's a fact. When Conflated's now done this, running the Ryanair and then gone to the Gold Cup the year after, people will be saying, oh, they should have run him in the Gold Cup last year. That was his, like, you cannot win. They should have run him in the Gold Cup last year. But I think by not running him in the Gold Cup last year, they may have done him a teeny tiny bit of a favour. The biggest problem is this year's Gold Cup is Galopin de Champs, isn't it? So that's like I guess in like an ordinary Gold Cup year, I think he's got a bit of a squeak. I do think he's overpriced at the price as well, to be honest with you.
If he stays 3 mile 2 up a stiff finish on anything worse than good soft ground, I will fall over. I will be shocked.
Happy days. Well, he's one of those that will end up being like, Scotty talked about this when I did a preview with him on the Cheltenham Exchange, was saying about match bets when it comes to Cheltenham. 'Cause, you know, you look at certain markets and you get a little bit like, and whether you want to get stuck into stuff. He reminded me of the fact that when it comes to Cheltenham, mate, the amount of match bets bookies will do when you have those opinions and stuff like, so I'm not saying this would be the case, but say something like Statler and Conflated. Say Statler's 8s and Conflated's like 16s.
You ain't about to tell me that you think Conflated will finish ahead of Statler.
No, but that's what I'm saying to you. So they're the sort of ones that in a race like that, when you've got a Galopin de Champs in there, or you've got something even like an Alaho or something, there are times when you can look at some match bets and we get these opinions going back and forth. When you're like those horses, you know, there's like, I know it's easy to say all this sort of stuff after. Brave Man's Game was a place lay for me last year at the festival, and obviously the ground got really bad, and I was rubbing my fingers, and I was loving it, thinking he's going to get battered, isn't he? And then they didn't run him, so I was annoyed because I'd done the place lay. He definitely wouldn't have placed on that ground. Yada, yada, yada. But it's those things there, like, you know, like the opinions come around, people give horses chances, and you look at things and you think, I'm so against this horse, I need to find an in to prove that I'm right. So when you get those match bets about horses not staying, you've only got one horse to go and take on. Sometimes it's worth getting stuck in, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
Talking about opinions on the horses, right? Who do you think, or what is the horse that you might have seen that you think is like the worst Cheltenham bet ever? Like, you might have seen something on Twitter, or you might have seen someone say they fancy this, and you just think, no chance. Queen's Gamble will be mine.
There's been some howlers. That's what I did it at the beginning of the season. I started to try and do a few of them where people were putting like there's anti-post tips up and then giving my view on it. And this wasn't to be like I know better than anybody else, but it's like here we have a discussion. If I pick a horse and you say that's got no chance, a lot of those videos, which is fine, will be very much like you've got your segments to talk about stuff and then you're going to put up a selection and that's it. It gets voiced, you make a case for it, it's a compelling case, and no one tries to like rebuttal it. And I like, this isn't to like pick holes in everything.
Tell me what the one is. There must be one you have seen. We've done all your videos, all your content. It must be one you've seen and you think that has got literally zero chance of winning. Come on, be harsh.
I'm trying to think of something. I'll tell you one.
Go on.
Blazing Carl in the Brown Advice.
You can't do that. That's out of order.
No, but to be honest with you, like lots of them that go up, like maybe it's the types of shows that I'm watching. There's been some that like I don't know, maybe like debatable where they could go. But again, I can like if I can see a reasoning and a logic behind it. Like let's be honest. Like at the beginning of the season and over the summer, people were talking about Banbridge going for a National Hunt Chase, and at the time, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. And then he goes and runs in the Irish Arkle Trial, and all of a sudden it's like that's ridiculous. And you get all different types of ones, didn't you? There's nothing that's that. Like,
it's the ones that happen about now. I find when people have got all the information, right? They've basically got the last 3 to 4 months information. And yet you can still find people coming up with these absolute corkers that you think that you just do that.
We're into the realms now, right? Especially when we talk about stats and all that sort of stuff and getting closer to the festival. We're into the realms now where handicap fancies will start coming out for some people, and it doesn't take much to move a market, which people will know anyway, and those sorts of things. But I do, obviously, it does. It takes some money to go and do it. The bookmakers don't give a crap about when I'm putting up a horse. They're not just going to change it off the back of mine. They'll lay a few quid, but their liabilities may be smaller. But obviously, 9 times out of 10, when someone who can vocalise or has a medium to like or an outlet to say what they fancy is not necessarily like thinking outside the box. Like if there's a horse that I can make a case for, I'm sure there's 20 people out there that have thought the same thing. So what I mean by that is when someone tips up a horse and then the money starts coming in for it, it's because, well, it's obvious, like more than one person's looking at the same thing. But sometimes, especially on the handicaps, there will be an absolute abundance of horses that people are tipping up that I will look at and I'll be like, it's got no chance in the handicap.
Fantastic Cast was the one last year for you.
I was like big against that, but it's hard to like really make the case in bits for them. But it's those. I'll definitely do a video for that near the time of handicap horses to take on. Again, the problem with a lot of them they're all 16, 20 to 1. You just look like a twat if you pick out 10 that can't go in and 2 of them go in. Like it's easier to get them beat than it is to get them to go and win. But there are some that will be absolute dog shit. But yeah, there genuinely hasn't been anything that's just made me think you're an absolute idiot this year. There's all a reason and a thing behind them. And again, a lot of it's price, isn't it? Like I put Mama up for the Arkle, for fuck's sake. Like that would be the worst if anyone was going to say anything, wouldn't it?
Honestly, that's a howler, mate. Let's move on.
Oh no, but that's the thing again, isn't it? Like anyone can make a compelling case for a horse. I'm sure I've thrown a few people under the bus by them going on the back in it. The only thing with my defence I would say is, had he have not come up against John Bon on his chase debut,
he's never going to win an Arkle.
No, not win an Arkle, but he might have shortened. We might have been able to cash out.
He could have raced against cats. He still wouldn't have won an Arkle.
Nichols has said he's going over hurdles for the rest of the season, and they're going to go 3-mile chasing next season with him.
He doesn't even stake 2.5. Right, okay, let's move on. This is getting outrageous now.
Superb. So, on the punting perspective, I didn't have that many bets for the weekend, to be honest with you. I've not done that much ranty post, right? Anything that I've suggested a bet on, I've had a few quid on. I did share my Monmerall bad one on Twitter, I think, where I had I'd like 80 or 90 quid on the exchanges, but I backed him at some points. Like I backed him at like 50s and I could lay him at 25s and stuff. So I had like £50 worth of liability on him. Didn't get out, got like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 quid of it back, but that was obviously like a bad one. He was one I did get stuck into, but other than that, I haven't really got stuck into anything. Had a few doubles and stuff that was going on, and I said to you, didn't I? Like I felt a bit bad and stuff because I'm trying to get away from the anti-post stuff because I can't do it to the extent that I was doing it before. So I ended up just not really having too much, but I ended up cashing out a load of them and then just taking the money back. Then I did stick a few quid on Mighty Potter. So where I looked at Mighty Potter on the exchanges and saw him at 2.4 and thought to myself I should be smashing into him, I just, you know, when you get those stupid thoughts in your mind where you're just like, I'm so keen on this horse to win the Turners, I don't want to do my bollocks at the Dublin Racing Festival as well. Whereas the reality is, I can do my bollocks at Cheltenham, but I should have made the money that I'm going to do at the Dublin Racing Festival. So I didn't smash into him. I was going to back Appreciate It, but he was never the price. And then the Appreciated point was, again, we talked about this earlier, El Fabiola was 13-2 for the Arkle at the start of the season, and he was 13-2 for the Irish Arkle where there was no John Bon in there. Like it was a too big a price. So I was going to have a ton on Appreciate It if I could get bigger than 2-1 on the exchange. I was looking for 9-4, and then I was going to have 25 on El Fabiola as like a saver, but to make a bit of money. And because I couldn't get the price on Appreciate It, I just didn't even do the El Fabiola bets. That was a bit annoying. I had that Barna Suli, I had a couple of quid each way on him, a bit of a place. Bally Adam, I did just bet win only, and he came third. I didn't actually have that many bets, to be honest with you, and it's quite a nice feeling this year because I'd rather just watch it and learn and find out stuff for the future. So I didn't actually have that much betting at the weekend. I did have some Mighty Potter at 9-4 in the week. I was going to get stuck into him at Hills when he was 9-4. George told me there was a comment from Gordon Elliott saying he's not definitely going to run, and I was like, no, he's definitely going to run. And he was like, no, I'm sure I heard something somewhere. This isn't what stopped me. And then like 20 minutes later, he messaged and goes, oh no, that was about Conflated. And I was like, well, now you've made me worry if Mighty Potter doesn't run. But yeah, he was obviously, again, easy in hindsight. But we've both been quite bullish on that horse, haven't we? So I didn't really get stuck into too much stuff. I made a couple of quid, but nothing like substantial. But yeah, I'm excited now because it calms down a lot. Like there's no need to be I know you've got to like do your column and you will be interested in looking at stuff. But for me, just thinking about the festival and waiting to have some bets, I'm just keeping the money in the betting account, trying to do as much analysis and stuff as I can on horses to get all the races covered. I'm just looking forward to getting stuck in every single day on the Cheltenham stuff and trying to hoover up on that.
That's where I made. To be honest, last year I made it. Well, I'll tell you what I made last year. I think I made 11,000 over the week last year. Like it was excellent. It was an excellent week. Like that was profit as well. That was an excellent week, and like that's why I think this year I do it every year, but more so this year I'm sort of like looking at that week, and I have to have everything on point. So that's why the last 3 months have been like fucking night and day. You know what I mean? Like any spare minute is looking at what's going to happen. Cheltenham this, Cheltenham that. You know, going back through races, like leaving no stone unturned, because you know that week is the week that you're going to make your biggest week's money of the entire year. You know, you'll get through the rest of the year and like make money, but that really bolsters your sort of yearly return. And I'm 3 years in now, obviously, since leaving the job. And so that week is now extremely important. I think that sometimes maybe it's taken, especially this year, I suppose, it's probably taken a little bit too much of the day-to-day stuff. Do you know what I mean? I probably could have split my time a little bit more evenly. So perhaps that's why I've not had such a good season in terms of the day-to-day things. But what I have found is that the National Hunt season, itself is sprinkled with excellent racing, but the majority of it is shite. I've got no real interest in looking at a Class 5 at Taunton. Like, you know what I mean? And sometimes, some days, those Class 5s at Taunton, Class 4s at Taunton are the best races they're the best races for 3 to 4 days. So it's very difficult to be over-enthusiastic, and it's very difficult as well to try and have a real good bet on something in a race like that, because they're just unreliable. So when like the Dublin Racing Festival comes up like this weekend, I sort of like, I didn't go as hard as I probably should have. And I think it's because I have, like you, I have so much invested in the race after this that I kind of didn't want to get stung twice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I had a bit on El Fabiolo. I backed Goodland. I just thought he was the best horse in the race. I backed State Man. I backed, obviously, Mighty Potter. But it was a good weekend in terms of like results. But, I mean, now, like you've just said, that's what's just made me bring it up. You've just said now that it quietens down now. And that's worrying, isn't it? Because the flat season, like if you're a flat season punter, Dave, you're not. But the flat season, like every week, Thursday through to Saturday, every week, you know, it's decent racing.
Yeah, I get that. That's the thing with it though. Like, especially again from like a punting perspective, there's so many different ways you can get involved in the game. Like Graham, the form analyst, used to just like those class 5s, class 6s, like the shit racing. He was all over them. And I know there's a lot of people out there that make a lot of money by betting on them, but it's almost like there's some people that make money on the all-weather. People make the money on something like. I feel like you have to have like your niche of something to look at. And for me, I'm too much of like a fan of the racing. I also think personally, it is like. This makes me like it's not like a fat-headed thing. I think it makes it the opposite, like a little pinhead. But it's so much easier when you're at the top table to be going for stuff because 9 times you'd like to imagine that everything's being run straight. The caveat with that is Cheltenham is the final target, and I know they can tactically change things. That sometimes they can be clutching at straws when it comes to that. But things like the Dublin Racing Festival, as much as they are so mega, Willie Mullins has so much firepower in there that even like the Lossiemouth thing, we touched on this earlier. If you're going to try something out, you're not trying it out at Cheltenham first time. Like they might have to really try and find something for like an absolute rogue horse. But if you want to try and see what's better if Lottie Mouse gets more cover rather than running on the outside or any of those sort of things, you're going to find out before Cheltenham. And that's what terrifies me from punting. That like Protector out in the Cotswold Chase, Dan Skelton said he really fancied him, all that sort of stuff. After the race, probably didn't have him ready. Well, fucking say that before he runs when he's a 5-4 poke. And I know they don't want to like necessarily give too much away to the competitors and all those sort of things. But that's what scares me with punting the top level stuff before it comes to Cheltenham. I can't trust what percentage ready they actually are. And I feel better waiting for Cheltenham to bet. It is hard having an interest in doing stuff because it's not hard to look at racing and not have a bet, but it is hard to look at racing, not have an opinion, then see a price and then think, oh man, I really want to start getting stuck into this. and then you do, but then it falls into small amounts of bets, doesn't it? So yeah, this year's been a bit different anyway. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into Cheltenham Week, and I reckon I got a better chance of it because last year I did publish my profit and loss last year across the accounts and all that sort of stuff. I can't remember what I made. I didn't make that much. I made like hundreds rather than the thousands that I'd normally make from the anti-post stuff. But I ballsed up on a few things, like the Gaelic Warrior one. I got really stuck into him, just knowing that he was going to go short.
Didn't lay him back, did
you?
you?
And I could have done, but I should have laid him back because I had so much more. It was like Galloping de Chambre, I think he was £2,000 or something, and he like traded at 101. Like they're the sort of ones where if I'm having the larger bets, I should be being sensible. But I've always had the mentality of never cash out. If I'm going to do it, it's one or the other. You've got to be all in and whatever. So this year I'll be better with it.
I'll be doing that as well. I'll be putting in 101s as well this year.
You got a lot. I mean, the thing is, again, from like a statistics perspective, there's stuff that just doesn't happen very often. Like there probably won't be another 101 at Cheltenham for the next 40 years or something. But it'll be an interesting one. I'm excited about trying out this year. Like I say, the boys in after school club after he loves it at the minute, so that's good. Didn't want to do it while he was really little, but I'll be able to trade for most of the day. I'll be working up to about 3, but I'll be able to get stuff sorted for them. Can always take a little break, can't I, and have a look at the other stuff. But I'm looking forward to trying to get stuck into it with a bit more experience and things in there because I will be able to do it during the year as well. But you know, like you're saying there, like it being the payday week, like the amount of money when I used to do anti-post punting, like I don't know, I might make $5,000, I might make $10,000 a year for the anti-post punting, but it consumes me. Yeah. And like the racing is good and it's nice to do it, but like the anti-post stuff proper consumes you because if you're not on your WhatsApp group at 2 a.m. when someone's just said this horse is going here or there's a market move, you wake up the next morning and it's halved in price. It's like you've lost a bit of value. Like it's really hard, and because it is harder to get on now and the prices move sooner, you feel like you've got to be even more alert to it. So I'm hoping that I can just smash the granny out of Cheltenham each year, make a few quid, and then get to the point where I can build up enough confidence where I say to myself, I know you could paper trail it off for smaller stakes, but you've got to start having your balls on at some point to realise how you handle the emotional side of things. Because Gaelic Warrior, when he travelled, right, when he turned in, I just went really cold because it was one of them where I was like, he's gonna not find anything, isn't he? Like you can almost sense it. And then I had Betfair up, and you see like the prices and stuff change. Then you see him go real short, and then you see him start to go out. And when he starts to go out, you just think to yourself, why didn't I lay a bit? And then you see the cash out moving up and all that sort of things out there. So it's getting used to those emotional things. But I do feel like in the next few years, I think I'm knowledgeable enough to better make money at it, and I want to get to the point where I can say to myself, right, here's a reasonable sized kitty for Cheltenham, and then I want to have the ability where I can stick potentially like thousands on stuff, and it not bother me. But obviously, I'm a long way off getting to that point. I feel like I can have 500 quid on a horse, or I can have probably, it depends who it is, but 500 quid is probably like the max of how I could feel comfortable with it. I'd like to get to the point of the grands, like the Galloping de Champ one made me feel a little bit sick, especially when I had the boy on my shoulders as well. That's when we got Dino Dave from Bob Ollinger. He wasn't cuddling him then, but he's on my shoulders. Galloping de Champ's jumped the last. Like half the crowd went ooh, half the crowd went wee, and then the boy's just on my shoulders, and he was like, "Go on, Bob Ollinger." I'm just thinking, oh mate. But again, it's in those moments, right? And I know it's like, I don't want to sound like fathead or anything, and I wouldn't normally put that much on. Like I might have a couple of £100 on something, but it was one of those moments where I did it because A, I could afford it, and B, like across the week I was sort of covered out of other stuff. But it's one of those, like in those moments, you know, when something happens and then I don't know, your missus says to you, "Oh, don't worry, there'll be another one." Or you know, when someone just makes a comment and when it really affects you enough, like it pisses you off, that's when you know you've got a bit overboard, didn't you? So it's finding those balances, but I'm well excited about it because it's nice, especially this year, with it being a bit more competitive after Dublin Racing Festival, a bit more up in arms. There's some shorties, there's some not shorties. I feel like this year's a real good opportunity to do it because, like a Nergamine, if he'd have shit home in the Clarence House Chase, could have been real short. If Facile Vega would have shit home, it'd have been real short. There's lots of opportunities for horses to have been like 10, well, not 10s on, but like 2s and 3s on. Lots of like Constitution Hill type horses, but things have gone the other way, like your Lossy Mouse and stuff, and there's a bit of value to be had, isn't there? So that'll be an easier thing for me, I think, for trading. You can see habitual patterns from people about those horses that have gone out, or I better get stuck into a few. So I'll do some videos on that and share how I've got on with it. Probably share them after the week, and well, I won't really want to give advice on it until I've made money on it. But I'm excited for it. Yeah.
Let me give them. Can I give people a fourfold at 100 to 1 that I think is great, got a great chance of winning?
Let's do it. I mean, no one's here at the end of the video, but we'll do this as the passing comment because my battery on my laptop's about to explode because it's getting too hot.
All right. So fourfold, 100 to 1. Right. I think this has got a great chance. A great chance. Play it how you want to play it. I think El Fabiolo is going to win the Arkle.
Okay.
Right. I think he's an absolute monster. I think Mighty Potter is going to win the Turners. I think that race is going to cut up. I don't think there's going to be much to take him on other than perhaps Banbridge. I think It's For Me is an absolute good thing in the champion bumper. And I think Blood Destiny has got a massive chance in the Triumph Hurdle. Now, they're not massive prices. They're 15 to 8, 11 to 8, 3 to 1, and 11 to 4. Fourfold accumulators, 100 to 1. Definitely worth a couple of quid.
Agreed. And I'd also, just on there where you've mentioned a couple of horses, you can perm those sorts of things up. You know I love a block bet.
You do?
They're the sort of ones there. Stick Darrell's 4 in there, and then if you fancy sticking someone against him, so say you stick a John Bon in there, say you stick Banbridge in there, say you stick a Lossy Mouth, say you pick something else in the bumper, like you probably wouldn't, but you can always do that. It ends up being 16 bets. Of those 16 bets, the pound line that Darrell gives you pays 100 quid, so it's the equivalent of getting yourself like an 8 to 1 winner. These are the sorts of times where, especially the non-run and no bet concessions, start perming stuff up, because if you do those ACCAs, no one wants their money back for the non-run and no bet, but at least it turns that fourfold or fivefold into a treble and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Quite like it. But anyway, we'll wrap it up there because we've been a good session. I quite like doing this live. Maybe we'll do that again next week. It's easier, isn't it?
Yeah, goody gun drops for anyone wants to listen.
Happy days. So it will be available for everyone to watch after, at least we hope. I think the sound was okay with it. Get your questions in for next week on Ranting and Racing 1.
Voice notes.
Oh, yeah, voice notes are the money.
It's much more fun when we can play a voice note.
And
Let's hear some proper ranting.
Absolutely. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Cheers for your time, Dazzler. Thank you for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and be lucky.
Laters.